So this is an enrichment question, and it's enrichment because this technique hasn't been shown to you. Now you might have answered this question in a completely different way, and that's just fine. The technique that I'm about to show you right here is going to be something that's going to be discussed later on in the course. But for now, it's considered as a small introduction. The first step to realize is that you can't divide by 0, so x minus 2 will be 0 when x equals 2. And I'm going to illustrate this on a number line. So on a number line, when x equals 2, the function doesn't exist. So I put a hollow dot on the number line at x equals 2, saying there's a problem there and the function doesn't exist. The next step is to take a look at the numerator and the denominator separately. So x plus 3 and x minus 2. When is that positive and negative? Well, this binomial, the x plus 3, it switches sign at negative 3. So if things are big, if the x is bigger than negative 3, it's positive, and when it's less than negative 3, it's negative. And I'm going to keep track of that on this number line. So anything where x is bigger than negative 3, x plus 3 will be positive. So I put a whole bunch of positives in here saying, all right, that x plus 3 is going to be positive forevermore. And on this side, it's going to be negative. So if x equals negative 5, for example, we know that x plus 3 is negative. Then I do the same thing for the denominator. X minus 2 also switches signs at x equals 2. So here's where the sign changes for that binomial. It's going to be positive on this side of 2 and negative on this side of 2. And I am dividing these, so these are divided together, divided by each other. So a positive divided by a positive is going to be a positive answer. So in anywhere where x is bigger than 2, we're going to end up with positive. In this section right here, between the negative 3 and the 2, we're multiplying a positive and dividing it by a negative, which means we know the answer will be negative. And in the last section, we're taking a negative value and dividing by a negative value, which means that the function is going to be negative. Positive. Negative times divided by a negative is positive. So the only place where this function is going to go below 0 is between negative 3 and 2. So that means it can exist in this section, which means x is less than or equal to negative 3. And it can exist in this section where it's positive, which is x is greater than 2. Now it can't equal 2 because we know that there's a denominator of 0 at that point. So this is the domain. If this was a bit overwhelming, don't worry, we will look at it again in a future unit.